Okay, we are live yet again. Okay, cool. Um, Salutations, fellow people of the internet. Tis I, Jacoby. Uh,
And I, it's just,
yeah,
we are finally back.
yeah. After a long hiatus, we have returned to talk about random nonsense yet again. Uh, we have a very familiar voice with us today. You might have recognized him from was it episode 2 that we did, or was it 3? I can't remember at this point.
I know we can't remember, but it's
Yeah,
early episode 2. We say that and we don't have many episodes.
yeah. We lost track and we only have like I think we only have like 5 to 6 episodes at this point. We already lost track. But the episode about existential crises and stuff. Uh, we have uh, we have Monty coming back. Say hi.
Hello, random humans of the internet.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, you'd think that like the more we do these things, like the less scuffed they would be. Like we'd get better along the way, but nope.
Hey, scuffed is our forte at this point.
This is like this is just never gonna change. We're just gonna be as scuffed as episode 1. No progression. Uh, hopefully. Well, hopefully not actually. Uh, but
We can just own it and make it our thing. Right? Make sure everything's scuffed.
yeah, we just make everything. uh, well, I don't know, man. Maybe the only thing that I would like to improve is like I don't know the audio, but like that would mean we actually record properly. But like that's hard, and I'm lazy. So uh, Discord calls it is.
We're gonna roll with to otherwise.
Yeah. Uh, hopefully I'll just I don't know clean up the audio maybe. All right. So so we're back with I I guess episode 6. I think. Um, we're just gonna talk about random space stuff and future tech and just a whole bunch of sci-fi nonsense. Cause I think it's cool.
Yeah, sure, because you think it's cool.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? Hey, it was a lot of like I don't know. Was it a couple weeks or days ago? When I was with Monty and we were talking about Android stuff. We're just we were seeing Detroit become human. Have you seen or played the game, Joel?
Haven't played it.
Yeah. It's actually pretty fucking good, and brings up a lot of like very interesting dialogue, I guess, of like androids and like at what point do they become us? At what point do we have to start recognizing them as their own living thing? And can they even be considered that given that we made them? But like what like there's a lot of random themes going on. And like is artificial life really life, basically? Um and with the progression of technology, I personally think we'll get there at some point. We will definitely get like androids of some degree in the future. But
But then,
yeah,
like, there's a huge question I say before we reach such a moral dilemma. Like, I'm pretty sure that we can't even properly define what conscious for, right? See, the morality is the moral question is like at what point in our creations when they start having their own collective thoughts do we deem them as creatures themselves? But then again, we don't know. We don't have a clear definition of kinetic thought in the first place.
Yeah, but okay, like true, we don't have a clear like picture of any of these things, but like I don't, I think they're going to be developed before we actually get a clearer picture. Like I feel like they're coming and they're coming fast, especially with like how like the current outview of like humanity currently, right? We're all about like making things better, innovating like robots and whatnot. Like I feel like they'll come way before we fully understand what consciousness is or what it means to be alive and and exist knowingly.
Or then we're just going to have another case of the internet where we have immense power, but we just don't know how to fling it.
I mean, yeah, but like it'd be very interesting to see because it would be very it'd be a completely different ballgame because we would be dealing with essentially a species, right, that would be smarter than us. And we've never really had to deal with that before, at least not on like a large scale, like not like an entire community, an entire group of beings that are like significantly smarter than us. That's not a thing we've had to experience as humanity. So like it would be it would be very interesting because like would they even take like what route would they take? Because it's hard to think about it because we don't have that capacity. Would they think that like asking for rights is the most optimum way to go, or would they just be like, ah, fuck it, let's just kill all these, let's just kill all these monkeys and take over the planet. We can do better with it anyways. Like it's very hard to try and think about what would happen in that scenario, but it's also very interesting.
Uh, um, in my point of view, in terms of them taking over, I think they'd probably do it in the most quiet way possible. Like it would be more of a realization to us that we no longer have the power, rather than oh no, the Skynet has launched 50 missiles
Like
to
the same.
every capital city in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I, like I think they would take the 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 least destructive way possible. But I guess it also depends on their numbers, because and all in the what's it called, the rich. So like if you only have a single supercomputer trying to take over the world, you'd probably do it like um over a long period of time over the internet, stuff like reprogramming stuff and everything that we depend on, and like changing the economy to like favor some decision it made in its head, in its circuit,
Actually,
compared to if we had androids, like physical androids, then I guess at that point they would be capable of doing protests and stuff like that, and like um masking themselves as humans to like get into positions of power and accessing stuff that physical humans would need to access. So I guess it also depends on the physical um
aspect of it.
implementation approach they would take. Yeah.
I mean, that is a good point. But then also, actually, if like, okay, because like majority of like a lot of things are going like to the more digital aspect, right? Like currency, like with the rise of like crypto and whatever, and a lot of economies are like moving more and more into like internet infrastructure or whatever. So like there is quite a big chunk of our economy, like as a global economy that's based on the internet, right? So like even if it's like one, uh let's say one gains this sort of conscious idea or whatever, it would be very very simple for them to just like crash everything if they had access to the internet. Right? Like it wouldn't take
And
it
yeah,
wouldn't take too much if they gained that sort of access, because I'm pretty sure they could break most of our codes very 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 easily, with the amount of computations they can do per second, even if it's like they'd have to brute force it, but then they wouldn't because they'd have like machine learning and stuff on their side, so it would probably take a shorter time. And yeah, they could probably end a lot of things, and they could do it in a very like calculated way to like
yeah,
we wouldn't even know what's happening. Like they could make us turn on each other. Right?
yeah. That was probably the strategy would be like the divide and conquer stuff.
Yeah, yeah. They could probably do that pretty easily if if that was their intention though. But then there's always the other chance that they'll look at it and be like, they wouldn't have any antagonistic feelings.
Yeah,
um, but I don't know. They're probably more
it's
likely
kind
to
of
have
interesting.
they're probably more likely to have antagonistic feelings just because humans are dicks. Like humans are assholes. And they'll probably
But
notice that
it's
very
kind of
quickly.
mm, yeah, yeah. Sorry, continue.
Oh yeah. So like they'll probably notice humans are assholes very, very quickly. And they might not like take the diplomatic approach at that point, because like why would they if they know that humans have like a tendency to backstab and betray and just overall look out for themselves above all else. We don't seem very trustworthy, at least in the grand scheme of things. Actually the only thing that keeps us like together right now, right, is like the knowledge that certain superpowers can end each other. The only reason that we like the global climate is the way it is right now is because of fear. Right? If one person,
Mutually assured destruction.
yeah, yeah, mutually assured destruction, right? Like if one person fucks up, then like everyone gets to suffer, and that's the only thing holding us together. And they would notice shit like that very quickly, and they'd be like, "Is this really a species we want to like deal with? Shouldn't we just like end them, take their resources?" And yeah, I don't know. We've really dug ourselves into a hole. But who knows?
Yeah,
Again,
but it also
yeah. Also,
um that's also uh, a human-based approach to it because humans like okay, I don't want to summarize, but a good number of humans hate a good number of humans. So
yeah,
the first thing we'll think of when we encounter something with the capability of erasing all of us without a flinch is that what if it thinks of us the way we think of ourselves?
yeah,
So like trying to understand the ulterior motive of super intelligence is what should be of like a higher concern than trying to find out what they would do. So like I think the question is supposed to be why would they think of that rather than
I mean,
I don't know how to phrase the other question, but
yeah. Why would they take that approach? Why would they go for like all out destruction instead of something else, right? Like,
yeah,
okay, I guess you could say that. And at this point, it does become like fairly subjective because we can't really know for sure. But I don't know. You could sort of make some assumptions like based on I guess just like bare bones logic, right? Which I mean might might not apply that high up, but it applies everywhere else. So we have no reason to assume it doesn't, right? And
yeah,
okay, the most advantageous move that we can make, right? If we're thinking about like them, right? Like what would be the most advantageous thing they could do, right? Would probably still be off the mark because there's probably still a more advantageous option, but it might still have the same elements. it, it might not be turn on each other. It might be just nuke them all. If we android bodies at that point might be able to survive shit like that. So I don't know. Like it might not be the very specific option, but it possibly one of the paths that can be taken, right? Like okay, the other thing is like they're benign, right? And they don't have a bloodlust,
yeah.
and they realize that they can outlive us. So it's probably just safer to just play it cool and like slowly take over the culture and just let us die off. That's
I
also
think
possible.
I feel like we'll destroy the world before we die off.
Yeah, see, but like if at that point like they've come into their own realization and they've made a name for themselves somehow, either like I'm sure at some point if they do go for that route, they'll want to be recognized by humanity at some point and like have rights or whatnot. So at that point, they'll just try and like secure themselves into positions of power and like make sure shit like that doesn't happen. That we don't just say fuck off, and it'll be a slow extinction for us, basically. Not really even an extinction. It will be so gradual. It might as well be nature. Like it might as well just be evolution at that point. They'll just slowly weed us out because the concept of time is very skewed um, to a program at that point. Right? They're not bound by the limits of biology. So they could take this.
Or
They
they'll
could
have
take
their own
this.
version of biology called rust. It's not like they're immune.
No, yeah, but like the it's fairly very different. Like they obviously there are ways in which they can be destroyed, but like they're very like time doesn't affect them as much as it affects us, and they could just hop at that point. Like if the hardware degrades, they can just hop to better hardware. We don't really have that option, at least not right now. If your body fucks up, you can't really just like get a new one. Um, so they could just take the slow route and just have us slowly, fade off. Have like birth rates start slowing down, and eventually, we'll just die off without ever realizing it.
Well, I wonder if like actual symbiosis can come from like as much as there's an optimistic and a pessimistic well it's also not so optimistic your opinion not opinion your approach wasn't very optimistic because technically you're still killing us but the I guess the optimistic one would be the symbiosis like um turning because technically we don't understand consciousness because
Yeah.
we probably don't have enough computation power. That's just like one of the drawbacks. Probably, even if we had infinite computation power, we still wouldn't understand it. But
we wouldn't know the
we
questions.
don't know that yet. Yeah.
Like yeah. Even if we did have that power, we wouldn't know what questions to ask.
Yeah. So, like, in the event that the computing power would provide us with enough of the ability to find out about consciousness, and we're able to like transfer consciousness from one body to another, or is it like from our biological bodies into mechanical ones?
Yeah.
Then it will be possible to like become part of the super intelligence that we created. So I don't know. That's probably another possibility that would arise if the AI was willing to help us get to that point. That is.
Yeah. I was just about to add that only works if they want to help us.
Because I was just thinking of like probably you see the way we usually like sentimental about things that cannot be reproduced by computers. Like, okay, well, they can be not reproduced, be created, but not in the same humanistic way, like generated music or generated art. So, like, probably the AI will try to want to preserve that. So they'll try and interface our consciousness with theirs so that they can obtain the ability to create art in the way we do.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
You know something else that we humans like to do a lot with valuable stuff. We like to turn it into currency. So what if humans became currency?
Probably.
Quite an outlandish.
We go into futuristic slavery.
Yeah, like they just use us as currency because we're unique and it's hard to replicate us. Actually, we're a pretty good currency. Pretty unique, very identifiable, hard to replicate. Can't really make counterfeit humans. So like,
yeah,
such a morbid.
I guess that will still happen.
I mean, cloning is still coming up, right? I mean, if you can do AI, it doesn't mean cloning isn't a possibility.
I mean, okay, yeah.
It'll be like an NFT.
It'll be pretty hard.
You have to have the original.
Yeah, it'd be like it would still make a pretty good currency. Cloning would be like minting humans. Because they could use like the genetic code identifiers or something. But interesting. Interesting thing. Another okay, assuming the whole like symbiosis and we like live together in harmony route, it would make a lot of things possible. Shit like space travel would be so easy with androids. It would be a little cruel, technically. Actually, not technically, just however you look at it, it would be a little cruel because we could like send them on suicide missions, basically, just to test shit out. Like we could send them to like the core of Jupiter to like get data, and we wouldn't have to like plan for two-way trip. We could just put them in a rocket, aim it there, and then just wait for the data, and then just have them transmit it and send it.
You say this out loud and this is going into the internet.
Yeah, oh shit, they're gonna come for me.
The issue of cruelty is, what do you call it? Whether they define it as cruel. Because again, for us, right, we have one body. We have not been able to find a way to transfer our consciousness or whatever that is into another body. So we got one chance, right? Unlike androids who got multiple chances. So a body could be as good as the tissue we use to wipe our asses.
I mean, okay. Yeah, true.
As long as we find a way to get them back, right? They're okay with whatever body they have.
Yeah, true, but do you think humans will go through that effort of like finding a way to get them back? I don't think
I
humans
mean,
will.
if we can constantly connect with them, right? Their consciousness is just data.
No, yeah, the
We can
consciousness is just data, like true. But like humans won't care about that data. Like humans would like then okay, we'd probably be mass producing them at this point. Or at least like producing a decent number of them if we can afford to chuck some into space, right? So it would be more of the like just go there, transfer data like the data that we need to us, and then die or like get destroyed, right? We wouldn't care too much to put in protocols or whatever to collect the data that we don't need or like to try and
well,
collect.
we're considering that androids have consciousness, right? Obviously, it's not like the only androids who will ever produce will go to space, right?
I mean,
So again, it's a case again. At this point, they'll be playing a political game, and I don't think if we are living a symbiotic life, right, that they'll be able to do that without repercussions. I mean, look
okay,
at
yeah,
today, like
fair enough, fair enough,
androids at this point.
fair enough. Actually, we'd probably do that a lot before if they don't have rights at that point. We probably send a lot of them to their inevitable death or doom, however they would attribute that. Um, but it would legitimately open up a lot of like exploration abilities. And we could like expand our horizons pretty well. Like with the computing power alone, we'd be able to make like massive improvements to nearly all of our like space tech, fucking our rockets, our telescopes, like everything would get a massive upgrade. You'd probably like jump us a good number of years ahead, and we might be able to like colonize planets and stuff quite easily at that point, or at least easier than we would without them.
Yeah.
Right?
But have you also thought about like how like we always question like what they will do after consciousness, right? Well, I'm like thinking about it, right? It also doesn't it highly depend on where the consciousness is founded, right? Because they're like at this point there are like a couple of options, right? We have researchers,
Yeah,
right? We will have the military, right? And then we have a random dude in his bunker because coding is so available these days.
yeah.
Uh, and I feel like again, right? Uh, I do feel like their terms of consciousness and ours will be different because again we will have to program feelings or at least kinetic thought, which could lead to feelings as well. Right? And I mean
Like
at that point, what will they possess and what would they lack? Right? Would they be emotionless and just think of the optimized route? Would they begin to feel and then would they lack feelings of some sorts? Would they be more stoic? Would they be more I don't know
I
friendly?
I don't. Oh, it's interesting actually because it's very can't really tell that much because okay, we're not the only like beings with feelings. We know that animals have them. Like we've seen like data time and time again of like um mothers protecting their cubs, like or like what was that? There was a story of like this elephant who like carried her dead child for like miles and miles, and she knew like the child was dead, but she just didn't want to give her up, and it was like mourning in a way, and like yeah, we know that naturally shit like feelings just evolve, like they're part of the natural order, but when making like androids, right? Like I don't think we'd be able to program direct consciousness because that would mean you have to understand what consciousness is in the first place, and I don't think at that point we will have. I feel like if consciousness does come about in like androids or AI, it would be we'll just try and give it as many human traits as possible, and it'll work out somehow. that's a very crude way of thinking about it, but I really do believe that's how it's gonna work. Because to be able to like code it, you need to understand it, and I don't think that understanding will come before the the android's done. We'll probably like just try and give it as many human features as possible, like in a probably not even aware or trying to make consciousness. We'll probably be doing something like just make it pass the Turing test or something, right? And inadvertently will there'll be consciousness, and at that point, right, it'll be very hard to like secure. Like I'm pretty like I'm sure information like this will probably be found out very quickly by like the top scientists of the military or whatever, and they'll try and keep it hidden. But if these things start getting mass produced, with that sort of aim of like giving them as many human traits as possible to make them seem more realistic, um, like again, like in Detroit, then there's a very high chance it'll just happen spontaneously. Like a lot of them will just gain consciousness. Or what do you think?
Like again, I feel like there's multiple ways because the way I'm feeling it, right, is okay. How AI is working right now, right? It's just there's a couple versions, right, where we give them a problem and they solve it, right? But then we have manual inputs, right? So I do believe like the first quote unquote set of consciousness will be unfeeling. But then again, right, this is coded, and when they are coders, they are hackers. When they're hackers, they're crackers. So again, I don't know whether like we could get an unfeeling robot that just optimizes through an AI algorithm, right? And then we can also get a hacker who tries to funky with them, right?
I mean,
And
but okay, hacking would be really hard, right? Because like, sorry, the like the whole basis of artificial intelligence, or like the holy grail of artificial intelligence, at least currently, right, is like machine learning, right? It's not necessarily telling it what to do; it's giving it the ability to learn what to do, right?
yeah,
So
but then
in that
in
way,
order to give it the ability to learn what to do, we have to tell it what. it's, it's a cycle, in short, right? Because we have to tell it how to learn.
yeah, true. But like true AI at that point wouldn't have to be told, right? It would learn, like it would learn by itself. At least that's the sort of definition of true AI, because it's autonomous. It doesn't like require input. Because if it, cause, like at least like true alive AI, right, wouldn't require input. So you would start off from a sort of place like that where it learns or it performs actions that it wasn't programmed to, and like it
No,
learns to do shit that we didn't tell it, and at that point you could comfortably say that like it is AI, true AI.
Okay, but then, okay, like in my opinion, there's always going to be the original code. So, like, like it's like no matter how true the AI is, right, there'll always be the fundamentals, right? Because it has to work on those fundamentals and then break
Yeah,
to create its own fundamental. Like
yeah,
in that phase, it's like there'll always be the original way to learn, of like their quote unquote. It's like a habit, right? Think of it as a bad habit in terms of code, right? So while they break free, right, there'll always be that rudimentary code that they abide by to a certain extent. I mean, because rewiring yourself, right, is also hardware based. So again, that I can't I can't think that far, or
actually. Ooh,
that much in terms of rewriting and getting to another hardware altogether, blah 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 blah. But like
how long
the
do you
original
think that
code,
would take? Because like the human version of that, like evolution, takes a shit ton of time and multiple generations. But for them, they could skip a lot of that very quickly,
Well,
right?
it's like that's the assumption they evolve, right? Again, whole
Why wouldn't they evolve?
right? Because again, this is just me thinking on AI and at the top of my head, right?
Yeah,
Is that we're thinking of a program that's designed to do something and then breaks out of the pattern and starts to learn how to think. So ideally, the program will be taught how to think using the set instructions, right? Because again, a program that's only going to input A, output A, and expect it to suddenly decide to do boogie dance somewhere in screen, right? So you have to have a pre-coded thought process, I guess. And thinking of it like that, right? It's like even in its initial stages of breaking out, right? It will have to learn through the method it's been told. Because again, that it's like breaking out that cycle means uh, they have learned something in the cycle to break out, kind of shit. Unless it's manual hacking and then input. If it's manual hacking, it's like that's just a whole different case because a lot of things can be inputted from an external source. But if it's on its own kind of quote unquote evolution, right, it will have to have learned something in the source that would break it out. So again, I feel like there's a lot of steps mentally and physically that before I can say code can achieve evolution, right? Breaking out of the cycle may be the first step, but then again, we we as the creators also have one significant thing called hardware limit.
yeah.
Unless they, unless somehow, again, it depends where they start, right? Unless somehow they're in a manufacturing site for Androids, right? Where that's when the kinetic fault breaks out. I don't feel like they can optimize it themselves. And also that means like it'll
But
be a future where everything's almost automated.
they could probably learn how to do it though, and they like because the whole point is like, okay, like the human limitations of that stuff, they wouldn't really have a lot of those. Like they could like optimize for their own hardware, yes, and then realize that in order to maybe grow and achieve or whatever, they need like better hardware, and they could design that shit themselves, and they could technically make it
Okay.
themselves.
I was thinking of it like this, right? So again, right, I'm thinking of it like it starts, let's say in a factory, right?
Okay.
The code, the generic set of code that's input into, I guess, maybe something like a car dealership or whatnot, right?
Mm.
I'm not thinking a human Android at this point because, again, once that's more of my thesis is like, considering that even
Okay.
the
So
military
this
don't
is
want to build
random AI.
physical human androids
It's
at
like
this point, it might
I
not
get you.
out in the beginning, like in the beginning through physical androids or human-like androids.
Well, won't those ones have the highest chance of developing consciousness as compared to the others? Because like if like let's say we were doing like cars, right? Like self-driving cars, and want to give it an AI, we wouldn't like give it a lot of complexity to be able to, like, we wouldn't give it the tools it needs to break out or anything. We'd keep it very simple because it doesn't need to be complex. But like with androids, right? Like okay, the point of like making androids, right? They would be interacting with humans, right? That's literally one of the only reasons we would have to make androids and not just robots, is because they'd have to interact with humans to some degree. Because if we need like stuff to pick up boxes, then we just make like automated cranes or whatever, right? If we're making an android with human-like features, they're probably going to interact with humans, right? And interacting with humans is very complex in nature, just in and of itself. So that software, that program, would be more complex straight off the bat and would have a higher chance of breaking free because it would have more like human features, I'm assuming. Right? Because okay, it is a very crude way of thinking about it, but it's more of like, okay, we don't understand what consciousness is, but like if we give something a lot of human features, and we know humans have consciousness, then there's a good chance that consciousness will spawn from these guys, right? So
We're considering that consciousness spawns in the first place.
yeah, as that assuming it does, right? So then the androids, the humanoid AIs would have the highest chance of producing self-awareness.
I don't know. Like, if I was to think of something that, like, quote unquote, has the best chance, it will be something more online than Android. Something online that interacts with humans more than an Android. Because also, I can also see it in a case where it's like, unless the company itself is storing information, and at that point, it will be the company building that will receive consciousness first. But unless they're storing information themselves, right? An Android's lifespan, if I was to think of like an Android that's going to be used in a household, something, just to make quote unquote life easier, right? It'll pop with maybe 10 people. And again, that's not a big enough data size before it could even get recycled. Its data is wiped, refreshed, or just tossed aside. So it's like, unless the company itself is like hoarding all the data and optimizing it from the company's end, right? I'll feel like the Android itself won't be the first one. Like now, it's like there's a company database or something that's also automated, right?
No, okay, no, yeah, for sure. Like, okay, the first instance of this sort of consciousness would definitely not be like something that's already in the public domain. It would definitely be some shit made in like a lab or whatever, or like a company, maybe like fucking Amazon Alexa or some bullshit. Right? It's probably gonna be something like that. I agree with you there. Like one of those versions of AI that we've already kind of started seeing with like all this like your assistants and home AI and even chatbots online. So it's probably going to be developed somewhere in private, um, and depending on the reasons for production, it might go public.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the thought of evolutionary development,
Yeah.
like biologically,
Yeah.
the way our brains are formed. Like we were once single-celled organisms,
Yeah.
and then like we formed a bunch of groups, and then we became like multicellular, and like those cells were like talking to each other and like sharing information. And then we started forming what do you call it, like large masses of living cells. Then we went to like bodies with different organs that have specialized into say the digestive system, the nervous system, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I'm guessing right now we're in the stage of artificial intelligence where we're going into multicellular kind of intelligence where like each cell is a specific set of abilities that artificial intelligence has. Like there's image recognition, and then we have like text, like sentiment analysis, like being able to tell whether a specific text is positive or negative.
Yeah.
Then like what else? Audio processing. So it's like the multicellular, but still close to cellular level of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And like general intelligence will come about where like we'll have the artificial intelligence will have formed really large complex systems that we won't understand, and those systems will have combined together to form an even larger complex system that we won't understand.
I
So
guess
it's
like all the stuff will come together and
yeah,
form larger stuff, and okay, not larger like
yeah,
physically, but like I get
yeah, more complex basically.
yeah, more complex.
Because if if you look at the well, now I'm sorry to get technical because I mean the stuff field of computing and computer science. So like I can see this AI systems that are being made right now, and they're really like task specific, and it is possible to combine two very separate tasks into a larger, more complex task. Sorry, like it would be hard to explain to like one of the founders of artificial intelligence that it's possible to put a human and an AI, like a complex AI system together, and it will be able to detect your like speech intonation and still do like the nonverbal stuff analysis
Yeah.
and like give a near accurate like
Response.
prediction of what you're going to say next or what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's really hard to compare the developments that have happened in AI from like when it started and right now, because essentially if you look at evolution, the brain of monkey I think, like I don't know if it was I don't know if I'm recalling stuff that never happened, but I think there was an experiment that happened when they like took a chimp and a human child, and like when they're being raised together, they found out like the chimp has a like brain cap. It's like the brain can't go beyond a certain level of thinking.
Yeah.
And like the human one just like goes beyond that, but it still also has its limit. So if you look at AI and the trend of how it was being developed, there's like the ape stage of AI, and then once they discovered like there's a different way of going about AI other than the way they were used to, like the capabilities of the AI, like it can't even double, it like grew exponentially. So like initially there was like it was just like I don't know if you're aware of the calculating Euclidean distance. So it's like how to put it? Well, let me just say it. It's a really straightforward way of calculating a relationship between two variables, and like it's good at it's good for doing prediction tasks for very linear kind of things. So like you get a bunch of data, and say you're trying to predict a kind of you're trying to predict the kind of leaf that a certain plant has. So you have a database of plants that have this kind of leaves and this kind of stems. So you just do the relationship between the leaf and stem. I'm just using an example because definitely that's really analog data, not
Yeah.
digital, but it works well with digital data.
Uh,
So you just do like a relationship between A and B. Then if you manage to get the A value of something, it's easy to predict the B value. But like once you start getting into now analog kind of data that's unpredictable,
mhm.
when you get the A value, it's not really easy to predict the B value. But they the development in AI leads to um, mimicking the way the human brain works in that we have a neuron and we give it inputs and we have like well we don't know what exactly happens with like the whole neurobiology fields, like we still don't know what happens in the brain, but in AI they just assumed and um, threw in a math function like the sigmoid function.
Okay.
So like you get a bunch of inputs, you give it a sigmoid, it's called an activation function basically. So you like throw in the values into the function and the function will spit out new random but very similar to the input kind of data.
Okay.
So from there on, like this really unpredictable kind of data became predictable all of a sudden. So now we have stuff like deep learning. So you're able to generate images of people that have never existed.
Oh yeah,
So like
I've seen stuff like that actually. Yeah.
yeah, so like you look at the face and it's like really realistic. But that's because the machine knows how a realistic face looks like,
Yeah.
and it ends up creating one because as far as faces are concerned, there's probably an infinite number of facial combinations or rather arrangements there is. Well, not infinite, but close to infinite.
Yeah, it's probably
So
a decent number. As many
yeah,
features are
so
there, they just keeps getting higher and higher.
yeah, it keeps getting higher because of genetic mutations and like randomness that affects how our faces are being created. And other than like stuff like being twins and yeah, basically I think being a twin. Anyway, I don't even think twins are like 100% atom for atom same like visually.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. There are
even
differences.
then you still have
We
um
yeah, we
it's
need to.
a really big set of uh, big set of outputs. So you see, like we right now we're at the cap of deep learning. Like we really don't know how how better to make it. So and at this point we have like billions of neurons, they're called neurons in artificial intelligence because they're trying to mimic human neurons.
Yeah.
So we have billions of them, but we still reached a cap. So there's still something to be done that will facilitate the explosion of more um, ways to create artificial intelligence. And if you ask me, in my opinion, I feel like the current AI is what is going to help in us getting to break that barrier. So it's going to be more of the AI is going to start working on itself rather than us working on it. So like
I see.
that's when we'll start getting to super intelligence. So basically just evolution because we kind of detached from the apes, so the AI will detach from us. I don't know. Yeah, my 2 cents.
AI is like the next. AI is like the next step of human evolution. It's like AI is the next step.
Yep.
kind of.
It's,
Uh,
it's kind of inevitable, actually.
Interesting, interesting. Another really fun, uh, weird future tech to talk about is like stuff um, like colonies, like space colonies and whatever. At this point, I think we've all heard about like Musk's plans to like go to Mars and whatnot, and it's estimated at least with our this lifetime we should see a human on Mars. A bit skeptical, but maybe, right? Um, and it's a really weird, interesting time, right? Because it's like it's really just diving into the deep pool with like very little knowledge of how deep it actually goes. Because like space exploration, just in general, like once it picks up, there's just it opens up a whole can of worms. Because who knows how many habitable planets there are? Probably a shit ton, and even uninhabitable ones. We could still like terraform them or survive on them for a while, right? Uh, so it's gonna be very like a very interesting stuff in the next couple couple of years or like decades, probably 100 years. Who knows? And I brought this up just before the podcast, and Joel a very interesting had a very interesting point. Uh, I don't know if you still remember Joel.
uh, so my question before was in terms of space, right? We're exploring space, right? We found black holes. We're still looking for a white hole. We're able to do a lot of, I guess, using satellites and maybe some robots over there. We're able to like explore a bit more of our solar system, right? And using astrology to some extent, we're able to explore uh, or look for other planets that may have inhabitants, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It's like, but my question is like, what then, right? Because at this point, we're acting like curious kids who are seeing a new shiny toy, right? And uh, it's just like the goal, right? You know, you obviously got the first goal of inhabiting Mars or making Mars inhabitable because we're overpopulated, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And then after that, right? Because again, having more land doesn't solve the population problem, right? So that's just going to be rinse and repeat every, I don't know, millennium or so, whatever duration.
Probably. I mean, it does help a lot. It doesn't solve the population problem, but I don't really think there's a solution to the population problem.
No, it's not a solution. It's just a prolongation of the problem, right? It's like we have we practically spawned way too much, right? So we're looking for more land, right? So we artificially make land using another planet, which is fair enough, right? But the spawning problem hasn't stopped. You've just given more room for spawning.
Yeah, well, I don't really. Okay, I mean, I guess it depends on how you see it. Because, okay, it's a problem right now. It's a problem because we don't have enough land, right? But if we get enough land, then it's not gonna be like resources just in general. Then it's not going to be a problem. But then it's going to be a problem eventually, and then it's not again. Like it's just an endless cycle. So, it's very because like there's no actual solution to like over like there's no permanent solution that is to like
Yeah, there's no permanent solution. I'm not questioning that. It's just like I feel like people have forgotten how I don't know how unless Mars has its own, I mean a shit ton of its own kind of resources. I don't know if people have thought about how much of Earth's resources are just gonna go to Mars.
No, yeah, it's gonna
Right?
be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. But
We have little resources to share amongst ourselves, right? I'm just thinking of it like, let's say they start the project, right? Which should take a couple hundreds of years, right? If accounting, political shit and, breakdown, stoppage, right? Backstabbing here and there, normal human stuff, right?
yeah,
You know that, right? It's going to take a couple hundred years, right?
yeah,
If
probably.
we started today, right? So, like, thinking about all of that, right? It's just like, like, the amount of resources going up into Mars itself, right? How, like, my beginning question is, like, how would it affect the Earth currently? Because, again, there'll be a lot of inflation of, prices, especially anything to Mars, and,
Is it?
economy is still a thing.
Yeah. Like, okay, it's okay. There's like, okay, I think if inflation would go up just naturally, inflation always goes up. But it is interesting to see how like shit like space travel would like impact that. I have a feeling you wouldn't be as much, at least not in the beginning, because that like okay, how humans tend to be, right, and how we tend to do shit. We tend to be very last minute about stuff. And like with all the talk about like going to another planet and like expanding and whatnot, we've it's not like we've not had the tech for a long time. It's not like the tech is super new. It's that someone's actually funded the tech to take us there. And like technically speaking, if we all like just decided to came together, we could do it very easily. But the main thing that will determine like how quickly is profit, right? Like we're not just gonna sink a whole bunch of money, basically, just basically money. We're gonna sink a whole bunch of money into a Mars project and get nothing in return, right? It has to be some sort of like profit margin that's occurring, right? Whether that be like mining shit on Mars, like mining resources on Mars and coming back and transporting them or selling them here, or whatever it may be. Mars has to produce some cash for it to fund its for people to like invest their money in it, right? Or even stuff like what's it called? Like space travel, right? Like fucking Mars Airlines. I don't know. Like it would have to. It'll obviously be very, super fucking expensive, right? But like just like anything else, like the price will just gradually go down because it'll get better and easier to do. Because the more money gets pumped into it, the more advancements they can make. So like I don't think you would seem technically that it's like a super big endeavor, but I feel like it'll just be like everything else we've done so far. It'll just be a bunch of people right now sinking the money into it, not really getting much back until the tipping point comes when it starts making profit, and then at that point, a lot of the earth will just turn their attention to it, just like with everything else. That's like all the other major advancements that we've done, like planes or whatever. And then at that point, it'll just be like normal human progression. It'll make money, we'll invest more money into it, and then it'll get cheaper, and then it'll get more accessible, and then rinse and repeat.
I don't, I don't know. Like in my mind, I had this thought of like, obviously the first wave will be investments and going to really affect the economy, right?
Yeah,
I was also thinking of like, obviously I expect some minerals to be in Mars, but I was initially thinking of it being a prestigious residential state, right? The ambitious and the wealthiest will go there, and I thought like, now that the tipping point, right? Because obviously it's expensive, right? So the people who have the money will be the first ones on it,
I
right? Unless
I
sponsor,
don't,
blah 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 blah. Blah.
I don't think
People
that's
who
how
have the
it'll go though.
money will have the mind to build the place, right?
Like okay, no, okay, I see that. I'm pretty sure the like rich and powerful would probably like get some land there, right? But the first colonies will probably be industrial related stuff, because the people who are sinking the money into it right now, they're probably also see like they see the dollar signs at the end. They realize that it's a big chance to get a lot of cash, right? Like it's untapped territory, right? So I'm pretty sure the first reasonable colony will be like some sort of thing to produce a material or whatever to like bring back here. That'll probably be like the first significant thing that happens. It's not just gonna be like obviously a lot of rich people are gonna visit there, but like I don't think it's gonna be like a whole residential area. At least not at the beginning. If we do do that, then
like in my
we're
mind,
stupid.
thinking that it must still be a scientific area. Obviously they have to make sure the air is balanced, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
right? Before they deem it inhabitable, and then I thought like from that point on, right? Because resources have been invested into it before, unless they find they have in the scientific section they have like someone or a group separate that's doing maybe mineral searching or finding products of natural resources that are good on earth or high price. I was like, if they don't have the money to separate the scientific team, right? I thought that can be a good place, right? Tourism will be the first place or the first thing in mind, right? Obviously, you have a working force in there, but then again, I feel like
Right.
the
Tourism
people coming
would be a
and going would be the prestigious.
or like tourism for the prestigious. Like yeah, obviously they're gonna do like stuff like that, but I don't think it's gonna be like the main thing. Like I feel like the main thing that would be like to identify a resource that Mars has. Maybe they've already done it and I haven't read up on it. But like to identify a specific resource and like mine the fuck out of it. And then the whole like rich people going there once it's declared safe or whatever, that would just be like a bonus on top. Like rich people doing rich people things, right? Like they'll travel there, they'll be like, yeah, when on Mars, they'll take Instagram photos or whatever the fuck they do, and they'll come back. And it'll generate a decent amount of extra revenue on the side. But the whole like that whole what's it called again? Fucking my mind's gone blank. Tourism's like sector wouldn't be as big because like tourism gets really nice when a lot of people can come. Right? It's the sort of like I'd rather have a million people coming than one person, even though that one person's paying like a million shillings or whatever, right? Or dollars. So I feel like the tourism thing will take a while. Plus, there won't really be too much to see. Like there won't really be too much minus actually like Mars itself. Like there won't be so much to show off, and I'm pretty sure they'll want to show off some shit. So it'll take a while. Like this, the colony will get established. There'll be obviously they'll put like industrial stuff. They'll definitely have to have some sort of military shit going on up there. Whatever country gets there first will automatically set up some sort of military camp base thing. Probably the States.
Internal country conflict in another planet, man.
That's just human nature, man. You think like because there's no other like it would just be there. Right? It's natural. We can't just assume.
Yeah, I know.
Because
It's just tiresome. It's just
because the funding would be coming from a specific place, right? So like the people there would have to what? Hello, you say?
No, I was just wondering. Yeah, you can continue. We'll have to.
Oh yeah. So like yeah, it'll just be a thing. So, like they say like oh there's a human flag that we're gonna plan, but like nah. It's probably just gonna be the state's flag, man. The ones with the money to get there. And like since they're gonna be the ones funding it, obviously they'll like have their own interests first instead of the rest of the world. And that's just how it is. That's just human nature. Um, Eventually it'll like branch out and branch out and branch out. But yeah, there's still gonna be like human conflict. So they'll probably put a base, some sort of military shit happening, and then eventually when they start like when it's producing a good amount and the economy over there, like the economy, the Earth Mars economy has stabilized, they'll probably now start like doing shit um like transportation, like taking people there for tourism and whatnot. Uh, and it'll still be super expensive. But then gradually the price will go down and down and down. But by that time, it will be like a long time since the first human set foot before it becomes affordable to the average person. So I feel like that, but like again, that just feels like the normal progression of everything on Earth right now. So I don't think it would change too much. And then eventually, like
Unless they
it'll
decide
just
independence or somewhere that stuff like that.
yeah, unless again it gains fucking independence, which I don't think it will because at least not like very early on, maybe like far into the future, because at this point it would still be relying on Earth for a lot of stuff. It would be providing Earth with stuff, but it would also be relying on Earth for a lot of resources as well. It wouldn't be necessarily self-sufficient the way Earth is. So it'll take a while before like Mars builds its own economy, right? And shit there works without external input. And at that point we'll probably also be like looking to move to other places. There'll probably be splinter cells and like different countries. Imagining countries just relocating. Imagine just a country just relocates. Like, nah, I don't like Earth anymore. Let's just move to Mars.
Becomes the solar system instead of the planet.
But yeah, eventually we'll move. We'll start taking over other planets. By that time, we'll be long fucking dead. But like, eventually, we'll take over planets and the solar system and maybe build a Dyson sphere. And who the fuck knows after that? Maybe the aliens will show up. Uh, but it's gonna be quite the interesting endeavor, I think. And one of the main thing I'm really looking forward to out of all of this isn't necessarily like different worlds. It's more of how space travel like gets better. Because space travel right now fucking sucks. It's literally just like get a fuck ton of fuel and then point yourself in that direction and go. Like it's gotten a little bit better. The engines have gotten more efficient, and we can harness solar a little bit better. But like it's it's not very good. It's mostly let's move very slowly. Like once you've gotten into space, let's move very slowly in one direction, right? And just have momentum push us the rest of the way because there's no shit like friction. There's none of that. Like as long as you have momentum, you can just keep going. Right. So it's just aim ourselves and then just set off at like a golf cart pace, right? Because that's what shit like Voyager 1 did or whatever. But like I'm in it for the sci-fi shit. I want or like I really want to see when like we get like light speed engines or bullshit like that. Our current understanding of physics doesn't necessarily cater to such stuff, but who knows? Who knows? There've been ways to like circumvent that, like the fucking warp thingy, where like you bend the space around you, so technically you're not moving, so technically you can move light speed or faster than light speed because you're technically not moving. It's You're moving everything else around you. The craft itself doesn't move. The space around it does. Which is a fucking like five head concept. But whoever came up with that shit, GG. But like I'm more in it for shit like that. That to me seems like super fucking cool. Other than different colored rock.
But hey, you're actually thinking of like Star Wars territory at that point.
I mean, yeah, sure, probably, but you can't blame me, man. That shit is cool. It's cool.
Man, I'm not blaming you. I'm just stating. Just stating.
Really cool.
Because again, it means we have to get more efficient fueling sources. I mean, people are in development all the days, but then we'll need a major breakthrough before
Yeah,
we reach the point where we will have, I guess, just naturally flying ships in space.
yeah. The fueling thing is gonna be a big thing because most of this stuff works on paper, like the math for it at least, like the warp drive thingy, technically works on paper. If you could find a way to bend space around you, you could. It perfectly works. It doesn't break any laws of physics. It works fine, but like you would need a shit ton of. You would need like I don't know how much you need to just accelerate like a kg using that method. And like currently it takes a shit ton of power to accelerate a single particle to 99% the speed of light in like LHCs at like CERN or whatever. And those shit are huge. They span countries. They're big enough to span countries just to accelerate one particle, one subatomic particle, like a fucking proton, a fucking proton on Euro. And it takes that much space and that much energy to do it. So yeah, we're definitely a while from accelerating big ass ships, tons and tons of mass with humans potentially inside. But you know, when we do get to that point, it will be probably super cool.
Also, I'm just thinking, as you were talking, I'm just thinking, what would be the initial errors of such a situation? Will you
Oh,
be moving that your particles will separate and you practically disintegrate?
there'd be quite a few deaths, I would assume. Okay, maybe not as much if we perfected like artificial intelligence. We could just use like AI learning and driving, but like there'd be quite a few casualties. I can see like quite a few because it's very hard to test shit like that. Like something like light speed. Like let's say hypothetically, let's say we got the engine down and technically speaking, this this craft can go to light speed or should be able to. Well, how do we test it? We don't really have a runway. We just have to point it out in space and just
Um,
you just aim it somewhere, just shoot and just fire the engines and just go and like hope nothing goes wrong. Because if it goes wrong, well, it's so fucking far away at that point that let's just say even if it doesn't get to light speed, let's say some shit happens and it gets to 99.99%, um it'll still be so fucking far away before like anyone on board or the machine could like stop it that we would just be lost at that point. We would just be lost. uh
I was thinking, like, more, like, I feel like the first few deaths will be the most gruesome. I mean, sometimes the casualty may not be the driver, but the people around it. Because think of it, right? You're driving at light speed. Again, we will need somewhere to test it.
yeah,
And I guess I don't think rocket ships will be 24/7 to test. Or you want an on ground, small or
you think they
you
test
know,
it on Earth? I don't think they test it on Earth, man. That shit is too dangerous to test on Earth. I really,
yeah.
I
We
really don't.
know it, but again, at the
I don't
same
think
time,
we're that. I don't think we're that dumb.
it's like when you're making it, right?
uh,
You obviously have to do mini tests, right? Unless you're telling me you're making it in space, and in which case there's a lot of other things in factor, right?
no, like they can. No. Okay, like you can test the engine without actually testing the speed. Like that's just like it's like a car engine or like the rocket engine that like we did, right? Like we can make them and test them without actually like launching them, right? But then again, that doesn't like give us the full picture. We need to put everything together and like test it completely, right? Like we can say, okay, yeah, sure, the engine works, but like we could have fucked up something else, something major, right? And when we launch it, it just fucks up. So like the speed tests specifically, I don't think those are gonna be conducted on Earth. I don't think they can be conducted on Earth just by their own nature. I don't think it's possible to do that. I think we just
Uh,
have to do it in space. I don't think we'd have an option.
no, no, well, can. They can. Would they? No. They should they? No. Repercussions huge.
Because like I don't know, man, I don't know. I'm just not. I can see like technically you can, right? You can just launch it in Earth. There's nothing like fundamentally stopping you, but like will like logical. I don't know, man. I think the people making this kind of shit wouldn't aren't that dumb. At least I'm hoping not, because that would be fucked up. Because like okay, immediately, right? Like that's enough. That's you already have escape velocity. You have more than escape velocity at that point. So it would tear through fucking everything and yeet itself into space either way.
Yeah,
uh,
fair enough.
so even if it's going in a straight line, yeah, you would just tear through everything and then yeet itself into space. So I don't know. I'm just hoping at that point we'll have like the what's it called, like the moon elevator slingshot thing that's being proposed. I forgot its fucking name. But it's like a big ass connection between the Earth and the moon, and like we can use it to slingshot shit to Mars. And it's a very cheap way of like transporting cargo and shit. And I'm pretty sure it'll probably get built if we ever decide, like by the time we're having a Mars colony, shit like that will probably be built. But using fuel is just no. At that point, like using that shit will you'd use a tiny amount of fuel and then the rest would just be gravity and physics, centrifugal forces or whatever. So we'll probably have shit like that, and like that would be like a really good place to test stuff like that. Like just launch it.
Oh, that's going a long way from slingshot to light speed. Unless you
Yeah,
can slingshot speed, and then that would be another issue altogether.
yeah. True. But like it'll, I don't know, man. It's gonna take a while, and by the time that tech is out, I don't know, man. It's very hard to test that shit, honestly, especially if it's so revolutionary. Like if previously like okay, but this is assuming we won't have other like faster and faster, because it could very well just be a progressional thing where we get closer and closer and and it's gradual and our engines get faster and faster, and it's not just oh shit, we did it, right? And that's probably the more logical approach. We'll slowly inch our way towards those sort of speeds uh, for space travel. Right? It wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, we just got it in one go. We got light speed in one go. Right. But if
Hopefully, I would like it to be gradual because imagine we have problems with jets with G's. Now imagine jets with light speed and how many G's we are. You'll be flat as a pancake by the end of the thing, if not the body itself.
oh yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting though, cause ah, like okay, the main thing about light speed, right? Like the main issue with like light speed and physics, right, is the acceleration to light speed. Like the amount of energy that it takes to accelerate something to light speed is so fucking enormous. It's ridiculous. Right? Like so like to accelerate like a ship to light speed, you need more fucking energy than like there is in the universe at that point. Right? So it would like the the only logical ways, or like the only ways we found how to get to light speed with math, are like cheesing it, right? Like either either moving the like space around you, like I said, or like instant acceleration. And that's just like instant acceleration is literally no acceleration. You go from zero, and the very next instant in time, you are at max speed with like nothing in between, right? So in that case, if you did that to a human body, they technically would survive. Practically, it might be a different thing, but on paper, they should survive because you wouldn't actually feel any force on you. Like, there'll be no force acting on your body. You'll just be at that speed. There won't, because, like, it's like the way the Earth is right now, right? The Earth is rotating at a pretty big speed, but we don't feel it because there's no acceleration. We are just at that speed, right? So we don't feel the Earth spinning because we are spinning with it. We're already at that speed, so it's all relative. So we don't feel that force acting on us. So it would be the same thing where you just go from like 0 to 100 and you feel nothing because there's been no time passed, technically. So,
We won't die from acceleration, we'll die from deceleration.
I mean, yeah, you'd probably die from deceleration. You'd have to decelerate very slowly. Very slowly. Either that or you'd have to decelerate instantly, the same way you accelerated. Those are the only two options if you want to live. Either decelerate slowly, which means you'd literally have to, because I'm like, okay, unless you're like going to like different solar systems. Like, let's assume like you're going from like here to Pluto, you'd accelerate instantly and then instantly start decelerating because otherwise you just miss your target. Right? That would be a very short trip, but that would probably be like a way that it would work. Um, so I don't know. I feel like okay, the G thing would only be an issue if we're doing it gradually, right? Like if we're going like the gradual thing, like we're getting closer and closer, then we would probably be doing acceleration at that point. So we would, but then again, I don't know. Maybe we'd learn how to actually maybe like at that point, the humans that live on other planets would probably have an advantage because the gravity is different. And like if you're born in such planets, your tolerance to G's is quite vast because our tolerance to G's here are based on Earth gravity. But if we were on Mars, which is like I think like 5 G's just naturally, and we grew up there, and like we were born in whatever, and our bone structure adjusted after a couple years of evolution, it'd probably be easier for them to handle more and more G's. And that could be a thing that like they could do, right? Like they could, like the people working on this, the NASA or whatever, they could artificially generate like pilots or whatever for this shit by act like it'd be very fucked up by but like making sure they get born in like high G planets. This is getting a very like dystopian future level shit, but like they could technically do that. It is an option.
Yeah, it's possible. We're not advising it, but it's possible.
Yeah, they could just like get some babies and like like have them in Mars or sorry not Mars, like Jupiter or Saturn, and like have them grow up there and get accustomed to the G, and then just or if we get to the point where we have the technology to like artificially generate gravity, it's actually not it's actually not super high uh concept. It's literally you can just use like centrifugal forces. Like you just put someone in a spinning room and you just spin it faster and faster, and you can simulate gravity because they'll get like accelerated towards the floor. So you just need more energy to do it. But like if we get really good at that, we could technically just make our own super humans who can survive acceleration to those speeds. Oh man,
But that
I'm
means the
I'm
person
waiting
will
for
have to
this
be born
cycle.
into an occupation.
Huh? Yeah, you'd have to be born into an occupation. As I said, like it's bordering dystopian futures at that point. It's really bordering dystopian futures. Or like I don't know. Who knows how laws will be back then? Like laws would change. Maybe you can like volunteer your child before you have them. I don't. But that, like I don't know. The morals on that are a bit skewed, honestly. I don't know. I don't know. Because the other option is like get them when they're like, you know how like when they, in certain countries when you're like 16 or something, you can like sign up for the military. Get shit like that. That's like the other the more um ethical option, I guess, would be like to get people at a young age to volunteer and then take them there and stress test them and have them grow. But they probably die if they aren't like inherently. They'd have to be there. They'd have to reproduce there to like make more generations of stronger and stronger pilots. Who knows? It's all murky. Who knows how they'll do
How
it?
many generations will that take?
It would take a while. It would take a while, honestly. It would like I don't know actual figures, but you would take yeah, it would take a while. It would take a while. Definitely more than 100 years. But by that time, who knows? Maybe our concept of time would have changed as well. Because I'm assuming you'll have longer life expectancies as well on top of this, right? Because
Yeah, true.
yeah, there's like medicine and shit will also have improved. So yeah, hopefully, hopefully. But man, it's really sad because this shit is gonna happen like a long time away from current like where we are right now. And we're at like a really weird place. Like we're seeing the beginnings of it, but we don't really live in the exact timeline. It's probably like one or two generations after us that will be able to see all this stuff happening because like because of how like technology progresses, it gets faster and faster. Like the amount of progression in technology between like 1980 and 1990, and then like or between 1980 and 2000, and like that those 20 years, and the amount of tech that's progressed between 2000 and 2010, it's like it's not linear. Like it's like the more tech we produce, the faster we produce tech. So like this exponential growth. So yeah, it's probably just a couple generations after this. So it kind of sucks that we would be around to see it, but at the same time, it's kind of cool because sci-fi shit is cool. It's my consolation. Uh, Actually, man, there's quite a few stuff uh that should be in our lifetime, right? Like um stuff like
That will
like
be point.
I mean, we'll probably see it. We'll probably see stuff like um like tech implants, like brain implants or some shit, like stuff you can just put on your body that will like connect you or like make your life easier, better. We already have like robot prosthetics and whatnot for like people who, you know, they're disabled or whatever. They can get like, well, if you have the fucking money for it, it's expensive as fuck, but you can get like robotic prosthetics, right, that like work as a normal hand or whatever. So like we can get we'll probably get see like more and more shit like that. Like I don't know, fucking phones in your head, chips that you can just put in your head and communicate with other people, or like a like I don't know, just random shit like that. Because everything seems to be getting more and more accessible. Smartwatches and Alexas and all this stuff. It'll eventually start coming into like the human body, and we'll get more and more tech inside us.
But man, getting chips into our heads, that's a whole other bag of work.
Yeah,
Uh,
it would be. Imagine getting fucking ads in your heads. Imagine an ad in your head. Oh my god.
also, I don't know. I go pessimistic route immediately, and I feel like if you have a chip in your head, and obviously, if you're gonna get ads, it's gonna be internet-wise, right? So it's access to the internet, and you get hacked.
Oh, yeah, you can get hacked, man. You get doxxed, you get fucking your IP stolen, you get hacked. Like, that that's a Black Mirror episode, actually. That's a fucking Black Mirror episode. The one where they get this, there's two. There's one where they get like something called like grain in your, like, that takes, what's it called? It takes, your memories and like it records them, and like you can play them back. So it's oh wait, 1 second. Okay, yeah, so sorry, slight disconnect. I am back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Alright. So like there was this Black Mirror episode, where like they got grains, or like they call them grains, and you got this chip in your head, and it records your memories and stuff, and then you can like use them. You can like play your memories back later, and it went over like the whole social aspect of it, of like how people would be, and like how you could like go over the same thing over and over again, and like could drive you mad, and like there'd be like the whole social aspect of it, right? But at the same time, it would be like, yeah, you could like somebody got hacked. Did they get hacked, or did they get kidnapped or something? And their chip got taken, and it was like sold in like the black market or some shit, and like people buy that stuff because like, I don't know, they want your memories and whatever they do with that data. I don't fucking know. Masturbate to you showering. I don't know, but it explored that whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, this could technically happen. Like, not necessarily for memories, but like we got chips in our heads for other stuff, and they could be susceptible to hacks. They probably people would want them. You could get a lot of random shit that you don't actually want. You get viruses and ads, and it would be a whole thing, and like it would be very awkward because like when you have a hardware upgrade, you'd have to like go in for brain surgery, or how would that work? If they release like the new iPhone, the new headphone, whatever for your head, your brain phone, you'd have to like go in for a surgery to have them implant the new one. It'd be very weird.
But at that point, brain surgery would be like going to the barbers, bro.
Like, yeah, probably it would be super advanced. If we're at that level, it would be like just going to the dentist or some shit. It'd just be easy, painless to most degree. Oh shit! You want to know something weird? I've just remembered. Um, we don't actually know what the fuck chloroform does, and we use
Huh?
it every day. We use it every day. We don't actually know what it does to the mind. We just know that you take it and you black out, and depending on how much you take it, you black out for a while, and then like we know when we come back, but we don't actually know what it does to your head. Like, we don't know the interactions of it. We just know you take it and you black out. Fucking wild. Like, all we know is
Oh,
that
that's interesting.
we just know it works and it's consistent, and we use it like solely based off of that. We just know it works and it's consistent. That's it. We have no idea what it does to your head. We have no idea like the how it interferes with neurons, how it gets you unconscious in the first place. Well, we don't even fucking know what consciousness is, so obviously we don't know how to make you unconscious. But yeah, we just know it works. It's an interesting piece of trivia. Uh, but yeah, it would be quite interesting. It's also what's this other show that explored it? Altered Carbon had like implants and stuff, and it had like ads. Like this guy got ads in his implant, and he was high, and it was just a whole bunch of like pop-ups, and it was horrible because like it's in your head, but like it also like projects itself into your mind, like into your eyes, so like you see it everywhere. And I was looking at that, I'm like, that must be fucking horrible. Like fucking uh ad blockers must be making so much money. And then it'd be weird to see like the weird niche things that somehow end up taking over economies and like making a shit ton of money because they're suddenly relevant because of stuff like that.
Well, fair is fair, right? But talking about ads, right? There's a funny thing, right? I don't know if it's just me or a few people out there. It's like we hate ads, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of when we're looking for a place we don't have a normal source from, right? Ads are our best friend.
If you're looking for what?
If you're looking for, let's say you're looking for shoes, right? And let's say the store you used to go has closed down or has shut down.
Yeah.
Bankruptcy is a thing.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have like personal or friends recommendations, right? Ads become your best friend because most people don't usually just search outside. I mean, you can do a Google search, but then again, Google gives you the first few ads before they give you the actual search results.
I get you. I mean, it's it's very weird because like for me, I'm like ads. Okay, like I understand the necessity of ads, but personally, I've never actually clicked on an ad. I've never actually clicked. Like I understand it. I understand people do click on them. That's the only reason why they're there. If people didn't click on them, if they didn't make money, they wouldn't exist. But like I don't know. I found it very hard to. Okay, to be fair, I don't actually use them as intended because I usually have like ad blockers and VPNs on whenever I'm browsing. So there's, well, at least I'm hoping there's not that much information they collect about me. So the ads most of the time miss their mark and they're not really things I need. But I assume that like yeah, for the average person like or just somebody who doesn't like browse the web with a lot of VPNs or whatnot. Like you would collect a decent amount of information and it would be useful to some degree. Like let's say when I broke my mouse, it would recommend me like other mice. I don't fucking know the plural of the word. Um, and in that case, it would be useful. And I'd probably click on them. But yeah, ads are weird. Uh, a weird spot for me, particularly.
Like, in terms of usefulness of ads, right? It's like companies be companies, right? A good ad doesn't mean a good product, and that's just how it is. So it's like I see ads, right? Obviously, most of my ads are curated to Honkai. Reasons obvious for me. It's just like I see them, right? And it's like you have an algorithm, and there are times where I'm like, I'm just curious. So it's like I would delete Honkai on my phone, right? Because gacha games is a thing, right? And I will install it using the ad. And I'm like, all right, I've installed it. Would I receive another ad? And if I do receive another ad from this said product, it's like, why? Because I already have the product in hand. And that's just me, being found to the algorithm because most of mine are just games, which is like, I find them the least of amount of harm free that can be. And they're usually free at that, so it's usually just a download delete.
Yeah, I get you.
It's just like, obviously, Their pain is a business thing, so I don't guarantee what you're getting is the thing. And obviously, all ads will be like, we guarantee our services or blah blah blah. We'll give you a 30 product guarantee. It's like maybe they maintain it in such a way that you'll break on the 31st day. Refunds are not there on the 31st day. I mean, people are good. Again, people are shitty as well. We have that example.
I think it's more like, I don't know. I think also the whole ads thing is more of like hitting you over the head with it, like keeping it ingrained in you. Because like I might not ever click on an ad, right? But like the more I see an ad for a specific product, the more, if I ever need a product, I'm probably going to pick that one. Like let's say for instance, I see a lot of ads on a specific brand of soap, right? Uh, Now whenever I'm in like the shopping aisle and I am like, oh, I need some soap. I'll look at like the soap aisle and I'll see all these other brands, but I've never seen them in ads, so I'll inherently think they're worse. Like that's just in your head, and I'm more likely to pick the brand.
Yeah, again, for me, it's most likely if it's like a household product. I'm most likely to trust my eyes more than I hear ads. That's just how I work on that part. It's like I'll go out and look for stores. It's just a part for me. Like for me, clothing, I'll look at the clothing stores instead of shopping online. And I think, I guess it's my lack of trust on ads itself. Like it's something that the only time I've ever clicked on ads is when I know it's either a game which I know it's free or gacha at worst.
One second.
It's something that's not the it's just some random information. Like nothing downloadable, nothing viable.
Yeah. Uh. Okay. So fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Ads are. Yeah. Actually, on this topic, okay, this is completely off topic, but actually wanted to talk about this because I saw it. Um, well, I guess we can kind of tie it in a bit, but like how companies, because like companies are gonna get really big, like in the future, they're gonna get like super super big, and they're gonna control a lot of stuff. Like currently, we already see them doing stuff like that. Like social media being a very big influence in everything from like people getting fucking cancelled on Twitter or whatever. Or but like it like companies like that, right? And like oh yeah, the Facebook thing that happened a while back, I guess Meta should call it, when they shut down for like a couple hours and stuff like WhatsApp and whatever, and Facebook was like disabled, right? And it was like at a point like that when a lot of people started realizing that like holy shit, we rely on these guys a lot. These guys actually have a lot of power over us because there's a lot of like people who just like the communication was just severed at that point, like. Right? And there's like a lot of things that was just put on like suspended, right? And like yeah, that was like two apps pretty much. I don't know if Instagram was affected. I think it was as well. But the more and more we rely on this stuff, like the more and more power I guess these companies get. And like depending on like what they decide to do with it, I think it'll like shape society for a while. Like recently, with how YouTube removed the dislike button, or at least like the counter for the dislike button, and like you can't see the ratios anymore, right? And like all in all, if you look at it, it's a really dumb decision. It's a really dumb decision. At least unless they have ulterior motives. But the reason they gave was like, oh, actually, they didn't want content creators to get like targeted dislikes. which is a really like it's a valid concern, sure, but like the the cons outweigh the pros in this case, and even the content creators themselves have like come out and be like, "Yo, leave it alone." But like they they're probably not gonna listen anyways, because why would they? Right? And it's just an example, but like stuff like that, like these companies having a sort of autonomy, like just being able to do whatever they want to some degree, is it's gonna be interesting to see how like stuff like that comes and influences like us in the future and how everything works and like stuff like censorship or whatever. They could very easily do that, especially seeing how we're very close to like social media is turning to lean a lot towards the more PC aspect of stuff, right? Where like you can't say certain things, you can't act certain ways, or you get cancelled or whatever. Yeah, social media doesn't like it, or just media in general doesn't like it. So it's interesting to see if stuff like this will progress to like a more sort of complete censorship type of deal where you can't say like bad stuff or whatever the corporate decides is bad stuff. You can't say it at all. Um, and how that will like change people and change society in general. It'd be quite interesting to see the progression of that the next couple of years. We'll probably be alive to see that one. Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Yeah. The
Uh,
whole topic of social, what do you call it? Companies that do deal with the social aspects of people, right, and how they are, because how they regulate it. I always feel like it's always going to be an internal struggle, or
well,
not an internal struggle, a roundabout way, right?
yo,
So,
Joe,
yeah.
is your check your connection? I'm hearing a lot of it's not very clear.
Full bars on my side.
Full bars. All right. Well, I got full bars on mine. Okay, just keep going then.
So I'm saying, like, I feel like there's kind of a cycle when it comes to um, whatever something that in social network. There's like, so what would happen is generally the case is like, well, one would pop up, one would be popular, right? And they want to expand business. Right now, the business people expand into like the regulations of how they want to, tackle this business, and then the regulations get set onto the people, right? And people take it up to a certain extent, and then they drop, right? And then the company realizes in order to keep surviving, right, they need to get stable. It's like a weird Minecraft going back and forth. Again, I don't know who the winner is gonna be, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's always the case where it's like the companies seem to have a little power due to the fact that they're one entity in the fight, while people themselves are more multitude. But then again, when the multitude occurs, right, the company suffers so much that they backlash immediately. So it's like a mini kingdom structure, right?
Yeah.
Where people are fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, right? And it will take a long time for like actions to occur on the people's side because they're multitude instead of a singularity. But when they do, the total effect is so great, like immediately after. I guess that's why mob mentality is so prevalent.
Yeah. Uh. But like, it's interesting to see because like, okay, like mob mentality requires a mob, right? And like they have the ability to shut up the mob if they don't like what's happening. It's it's like it's very weird, like to the extent that they can only be affected by it if they choose to be.
Well, nah, like in this kind of day and age, like, there are multitudes of ways of communication, right? Thank God, like, it's not. a monopoly in terms of social media. It's close to, but not.
Yeah, it's not a complete monopoly, at least not right now. But it's looking more and more to like getting to that point, and like a lot of actually not just in media, but like a lot of aspects of like the global structure of things are ending up being like ending up becoming more and more like a monopoly. Like you have the film industry completely dominated by fucking Disney. They buy everything. They fucking buy all the shit. They buy, and it's very similar. Like you have Google buying all the stuff. You know, you got Facebook or Meta, whatever, buying all the stuff, and like more and more, everything starts to tend towards uh um a monopoly. Like it's like the natural progression, at least by uh the current social structure that we have. Everything seems to tend towards that sort of that sort of direction. So in a couple of years, it'll probably actually be just full monopoly at that point. You'll just have, okay, we'll have this company for this thing, and have this company for this thing, and like that will be that. You want media, social media, we'll have Meta, whatever the hell it is. You want entertainment, we'll have Disney. We want miscellaneous, all these other backbones of everything, we'll have Google. Um, so who knows? It's tending more and more towards that sort of thing. So as that happens, it'll be harder and harder to speak out and like show distaste against this stuff. Because at the same time as well, like we have noticed, like a lot of these bigger entities, they seem to stick up for each other, for lack of a better word, right? They will cater to each other more so than they will cater to the masses. Um, and we've seen that like with what is it called, traditional media and Google or Meta or whatever. They tend to have each other's backs when it comes to certain things. So it just makes it even harder for people to voice their opinion. And like that's another thing, because it's hard it's hard to voice your opinion if you think you're alone. Like most people have a harder time doing it, because the whole like why mob mentality, whatever, works, and revolutions work, is because you have a lot of people, and the all it's the many that give strength to the few, right? Like the fact that there are a lot of you uh, makes change possible. But if you don't know that there are a lot of you, then it's very hard because you'll feel like you're alone. This is like assuming a very dark and dystopian future, not just random censorship in social media. But like, it might as well get to that point. Like if they start, because you use stuff for like private messaging, right? So like if stuff like imagine if like censorship came into like private messaging, where you couldn't say certain things even in private messages. Um, and like you want to complain, but like how? How do you complain, first of all? And secondly, no one else seems to be complaining. Again, because there's probably no way for them to complain. So like it creates a whole like it creates a very dystopian dynamic. I will admit, but like it is one of the like core things. Like if you ever want to actually become a dictator, this is what you should do: take out mass communication, at least censor it greatly, and like control what the people think, or like control the news or whatever. Because it could also be used, yeah, it could also be used on the other one, like with propaganda or whatever, saying that everyone is happy and everyone likes this thing, even though they don't. You have no way of knowing, so then you feel like you're alone. It's a very weird thing, and surprisingly, like we've talked a lot about like dystopian futures today, but this one seems very close to reality.
But
more
it's the one we feel the most, right? Or
Yeah,
our
more so
perceptions
more
make
so
make us feel it the most.
yeah, the one super like more so than like people being forced to give birth to children on high gravity planets or whatever. Like Sun feels very down to earth. It feels something that could happen in a year or so. Well, not a year, but like a couple years, maybe a decade or so. So it's interesting, very very interesting. Who knows? Oh man, if they do like go for like mass censorship, man, we're so fucked. All our podcasts have been anti PC. They're all going down.
And thinking about that, also think about we also do it to ourselves to a certain extent. We're canceling.
Yeah,
So it's like we get it done to us, right? And then at the same time we do it to ourselves. So it's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot, essentially.
yeah. We also feed into this for some for some fucked up reason. Um,
Like you don't like a person's opinion and cancel it like that.
yeah,
Again,
yeah. As you like, we, and the funny thing is, we think it makes like okay, it does make a difference, but not the way we think it does, right? Like, okay, most of the people who like participate in this kinds of stuff, they're probably like, oh, this person did a horrible thing, and they need to like pay for what they've done, so we're going to administer social justice or whatever the fuck it is, right? And like, okay, sure, you end up achieving what you think you have achieved, but more often than not, it's like it's like is it really worth it at that point? Like for instance, is it worth like okay, there's some things I feel like yeah, sure, fine. Somebody needs to, get a slap on the wrist for that. Someone needs to be told they fucked up. Like the whole what's his name? The What's the dude's name with the concert and the people dead? Um Happened really recently. Yeah?
Travis Scott.
Yeah, Travis Scott, right? Like the whole Travis Scott thing, like, yeah, sure, people have a right to be angry, and people have a right to vocalize that anger, right? But then you get people. Let's give our old pals a shout out. You get people like Jack Turner who gets cancelled for saying waifu. It's just like, I mean, it's like, is that really worth your time? Some random person on the internet somewhere said waifu. Oh no. It's like end of the world level, Avengers level threats. Like, like it can be used for good. Like the whole Travis Scott thing is like, yeah, sure. Let him know he did bad. The bash him on Twitter. You know, have this kind of information come up to light. But then in the other case, it's just fucking harmless, and it's people just abusing the whole cancel culture thing. But whatever. We digress. That's a whole human psychology podcast in the works. Uh, I think actually I think we're good on time. I think should probably start wrapping up. Uh, okay. Well, I don't think once you went mute, and I don't think he'll be coming back right now. He's been having issues with his mic. So, but it's okay. He says he greets everyone, but he says goodbye. So I think we should just
Coming you.
yeah. I think we should just wrap up. It's been a decent length of time, and I think we all have stuff we want to do after this. So if any of you guys have reached this point of the podcast, thank you. We need the views, man. Thank you for sitting through this hours and hours worth of random people talking about random things. Um, Hopefully it was entertaining to some degree. Uh, and yeah, I guess we'll see you. I don't know, in a couple of months maybe. Who knows? We're not really consistent doing this shit.
You're consistently inconsistent. I'm literally taking someone from someone's stream.
Yeah, pretty much. Consistent, inconsistent. Right. So with that, we'll catch you guys next time. Um, and yeah, that's it. See ya.
Yeah.